The big news for West Ham today is that we've told midfielder Edson Alvarez he can leave in this summer. In fairness, there's other big news, which is that someone who is not employed by West Ham but is involved in transfers behind the scenes at the club, he reckons there's a 99% chance Mohamed Kudus will also be sold during the summer transfer window. Both things being reported by some muppet over on Claret and Hugh. But I'd like to talk about the Edson Alvarez article because it's given me a little reassurance. Not much, just a little bit, and a little hope. Now, I require as much as I can get. I need a lot of hope, and I need a lot of reassurance. But this article has given me it. And I also believe both articles. I believe that we will sell Kudus, and I do believe we will sell Edson Alvarez. I find it harder to believe that we won't sell Edson Alvarez. And I was expecting it already. But I think that article's just given me that little bit of reassurance that I need, saying, don't worry. We are willing and hoping to sell Edson Alvarez. Now, if we can have more reassurance regarding other players, that would go a long way. But as I discussed yesterday, I just don't see there being any set of circumstances in which Graham Potter is not the West Ham manager on the first game of the season next season. I don't see him walking from the job. I don't see us sacking him. And I don't believe there's a clause which would allow us to get rid of him for little to no compensation. No matter what happens between now and the end of the season, even if we lose all 5 games, I think he's still here. So with that in mind, over the last day or two, I've been trying to look ahead to the summer transfer window and next season, saying, right, I'm not going to enjoy the rest of the season. And so far, in Potter's reign, I've just been looking forward to the next game. And when I say looking forward, I mean ahead. I've been looking ahead to the next game, not as in excited, no, date wise looking forward. But instead of looking at the Brighton game going, oh, we've got Brighton next, do I think we'll win? No. Do I think Brighton are good? No, they haven't won in 5, but I still don't think we'll win. Instead of feeling like that, I'm trying to inject a little bit of hope and enthusiasm into myself, because what you want as a football fan and what you get is usually 2 completely different things. So even if you're sat here listening right now, well, you're either one of 3, aren't you? Which is, you definitely want Potter here next season. Great, you're going to get what you want. You definitely don't want Potter here next season. I'm not sure you're going to get what you want. But you can still discuss things, which is, you want Potter to go, but you can discuss it as in he's staying, because he probably is. Or you're in the middle. You're unsure and you're yet to make your mind up. So these discussions are relevant to you, I would suggest. But anyway, I've had it with this midfield. I've had it with this midfield for a while. We've not replaced Declan Rice. Edson Alvarez came in as one of the replacements for Declan Rice alongside James Ward-Prowse, because David Moyes said we're not going to be able to replace him. We're going to have to get 2 players in, and those were the 2 players we went and got. Last summer, when we had the summer transfer window, I was concerned we hadn't got the midfielder. And the reason I was concerned and not confident we hadn't is because I didn't know who Guido Rodriguez was, and I didn't know who Carlos Soler was. Never heard of them. So all I had to go on was other people's opinions. And it was suggested that Rodriguez was a really smart defensive midfielder and low cost, and Soler was a really smart, clever central midfielder. So with those opinions from other people, I thought, okay, maybe we've got what we need in midfield. We hadn't addressed it correctly. That we've been linked to plenty of players, I think would have made a big difference, but nevertheless, we never got them. And the midfield's been a huge problem. And when we get a new manager, which we've done twice now, so when we went from Moyes to Lopetegui, I'm willing to some extent, push the reset button for everyone, for all the players. Say, right, okay, new manager, we might get a new version of that player. Now, obviously, if a player's slow, he's going to remain slow. But players will improve, or some go backwards under managers. So when we change from Lopetegui to Potter, I thought, okay, let's reevaluate Rodriguez. He's not going to get any quicker, but he might fit what Potter does. Let's reevaluate Soler and Soucek under Graham Potter. And James Ward-Prowse, to some extent, he came back. Let's have a look at James Ward-Potter. Let's have a look at James Ward-Prowse under Potter and see what happens. Maybe I'll change my mind. Think, actually, they can do well under this manager. We can use them next season. No, it's not happened. As far as I'm concerned, I want to see Rodriguez gone. I don't want to sign Carlos Soler. I want to see Edson Alvarez sold. I want to see James Ward-Prowse sold. And I want to see Tomas Soucek sold. I've made my mind up. When I did a video about a month ago, we did like a tier list, myself and Gonzo, and I put most of the midfielders in the unsure bracket because I needed to see them under Graham Potter more. I feel like I've seen them all enough now, and I've made my mind up, and I'm quite confident I want them all sold. It doesn't mean they'll all be sold, and I appreciate not everyone's going to agree with me, but I think that midfield needs ripped up and we start again. For what it's worth, I'd keep Andy Irving and I'd keep Freddie Potts next season. Those two would be here at West Ham. But I want to see us sign minimum of 2, possibly even 3 central midfielders. And I know it's unlikely we will sell all of them. I know that. But in regards to Edson Alvarez, it's never really worked out for him. He looked good under David Moyes. I thought he looked good in his first season with us. Then last summer, I'm quite confident we would have sold him for 50 million to Man United, but he sustained that injury. That was unfortunate for us, for Man U, and of course for Edson Alvarez. He missed out on what would have been a big move for him to go to Old Trafford and play under Ten Hag, who obviously was his previous manager. So that was almost like a dream move for him, ruined by injury. And we would have made a profit. It would have been a quick flip. One season, 15 million profit. Bosh, happy days, successful, move on. Because I was hoping to see a little bit of that under Tim Steidten. I was hoping we were going to bring in 1 or 2 players. Well, bring in more than that. We bring in 5 or 6, but 1 or 2 of them we've earmarked, which is, well, they have a good season. We can shift them for profit quick. We can flip them quickly. That's good. I was all for that. Came back at the end of the transfer window. There was a little bit of talk, but obviously didn't go anywhere. But then back in January, the links to Monaco started, didn't it? And this is where I'm going to bring in Fabrizio Romano. Because at the minute, the situation around Edson Alvarez, I think, is unclear. I ain't buying this injury. I'm not buying it. Fabrizio Romano put out that he's got a back injury and that's why he wasn't in the squad. It just doesn't add up to me. So the reason I'm using Romano is because he's been all over Edson Alvarez. When we were signing him, when he had his medical, when he flew over, he was all over it. And I appreciate it may have came from Tim Steidten, but it may also have come from Edson Alvarez. And then in January, when Steidten was sort of out the picture a little bit, he was being linked with a loan move to Monaco. So those links between Romano and Edson Alvarez have always been there. So when he reported he's got a back injury and is going to be out for some time, I just find it suspicious. And the reason I find it suspicious, A, cryptic message from Edson Alvarez on social media, and B, in the pre-match press conference, Potter didn't refer to it. And I appreciate he may have picked up his injury after the press conference, but I don't know. I'm just a bit suspicious, really. And then this comes out, we've told him that he can leave. Everything's lining up to suggest that Potter's made his mind up on Edson Alvarez. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it, by the way. If he's decided Potter's decided Alvarez has no future at the club, and therefore he's not going to play for the remainder of the season, I'm all right with that. Reduce the risk of injury, focus on the players that might be here next season. It makes sense. And it's a transfer that I was really excited about when we got him. And he's done okay. I think he could have done better for us. He wasn't great under Lopetegui, some good performances, but overall not great. And he's not been very good under Graham Potter. And it's one of those players that I think turned up with a lot of reputation, a lot of hype, a lot of potential, and just never really lived up to what he could have delivered, I think. And it's a shame, really. I'm quite confident that when we sell him, it won't be to a Premier League side. He's going to go overseas, maybe to the Bundesliga or something where the game might suit him a little bit better. Within the article, it said we are likely to get the 32 million we paid for him. I agree with that. I don't know, 20, 25 million. But in terms of PSR, so in terms of cost, the club will make a loss. But in terms of PSR, anything over 21 million or something is a profit in terms of how the PSR accounts look for the sale of Edson Alvarez. So although we might sell him for 10 million less than what we paid, it will actually show as a profit on the PSR account books, which is helpful, I guess. But it's one of them. Thank you. Goodbye. I'll forget him pretty quickly. But it was just a transfer. It never really lived up to its full billing as far as I'm concerned. In regards to other midfielders, so I'm encouraged about the fact that Edson Alvarez is on his way out. Tomas Soucek, I think, has been demoted from vice-captain and without much fanfare, but I always considered him vice-captain under Lopetegui and under Graham Potter. But on Saturday afternoon, Bowen went off. Soucek never got the armband. It was Max Kilman. And I noticed this. I've seen it. I thought, ooh, that's telling. Less and less minutes for Tomas Soucek under Graham Potter as well. So although initially he scored goals, and he hasn't scored important goals for us, I feel like those minutes are getting lesser and lesser. And it says to me, Potter's maybe not too sure on Tomas Soucek, and there's a lot of talk with him and Everton and Leeds United, and I'm all for selling him. And for those that don't want to sell Soucek, I get it, right? You don't have to convince me as to why you want to keep him. I understand. He's a goal-scoring midfielder, gives everything to the club, and before someone says, oh, hating on Soucek, I don't hate Soucek. I absolutely love him. I wish every player had his attitude. But ultimately, listen, Gonzo's a nice bloke. I don't want to see him play for West Ham. He loves the club, but I still don't want to see Gonzo in midfield for West Ham. I want better in there. I want better players more suited. Sell him as far as I'm concerned, but he will go with a massive thank you, because he will, for a lot of people, they will consider him a legend. Cult hero status secured. For some, they will think he's a legend of West Ham. Ward-Prowse, I'm glad we got him back. I really am. Because the alternative is we got him back this summer. Potter has a look at him in pre-season. He looks all right and thinks, you know what, we're going to keep him. We can use him this season, which would be next. I'm glad he's come back now and we've been able to evaluate him. I just hope that Potter doesn't like what he sees. I am concerned. My prediction is he's here next season. I think Potter likes Ward-Prowse. And again, I get it. He works hard, gives 100%. It keeps the ball ticking over. I just want more from our midfield. I really do. I think there may be a club willing to pay for him this summer, but he's at that age now that next summer he'd be a bit more difficult to sell. The summer after that, a bit more difficult. The summer after that, then he might be free. Just get what you can for him as far as I'm concerned and reinvest it into the middle of the pitch. So I'd like those three gone. Rodriguez, you're not going to get anything for him, are you? But I want a big rebuild in the middle of the pitch. Now, I've never subscribed to this suggestion by some, which is once Potter gets his own players, things will be better. I can't subscribe to it. I struggle to. But one thing I will concede in regards to that argument is once he gets a different midfield, things might get better. Because Potter at Brighton had McAllister, high energy, he had Caicedo, he had Bissouma, someone we could possibly sign this summer. If it wasn't at Spurs, I think we'd be strongly linked to him. It's just that Tottenham thing, isn't it? But Bissouma, Caicedo, McAllister, you could even suggest that, well, Pascal Gross wasn't the quickest player in the world. He was still high energy, Solly March, high energy. Potter likes players that can get about the pitch, because this is where we're going to have to agree to disagree, me and a lot of people. I don't see us playing low block under Potter. You can be defensive and pragmatic without being low block. You can be. I just think we're just a bit slow and boring at the build up. I think that's my issue. But if you are going to do the mid block, which is, I know people don't like this terminology, but it's an easy way of describing it. Essentially, it's when the opposition's on the halfway line, you start pressing them. You don't wait for them. You don't camp in your own box, essentially. To do that, you do require pace and or athleticism, both ideally. Hence why Bournemouth are good under Areola, because he needs high energy, high impact players that will hassle, but also can cover ground, because they're going to push up, because they're going to press high. If they get played between, they get past the first line, there's a lot of space on that pitch all of a sudden. And you've got slow players, you're not in a good place. So I do think with Potter, with a better midfield, with better players in there, better in possession, more creativity, but also can get about the pitch, I think things would improve. He's improved the defence. I think we should be doing better with the players available, but one thing I will say is he can't make Soucek quicker. He can't make James Ward-Prowse faster. That's not something he can do. I hope we go all in on the midfield this summer, get in a couple of a 6 and an 8 or something like that, but certainly two players capable of doing it. Like I said, in the last couple of weeks, Declan Rice has stole highlights of his 2 free kicks against Real Madrid. incredible performance in Madrid as well. But that goal against Brentford, that assist he got, is what we do not have at West Ham. He picked the ball up on the edge of his own box, travelled the entire distance of the pitch, laid it off to someone, and he scored. We don't have that guy. Kudus can do it, but we're talking central midfield here, and I don't want to see Kudus in central midfield. So when I see that Edson Alvarez could be sold, brilliant. Let's get it done. Get the entire midfield sold and do it. And yes, I know. Is it likely we will sell everyone? No. Can we sell everyone? Probably not. It's probably a bad idea. But we are 17th in the league. Like I said, if we were 7th, don't do it. Keep the squad together as much as you can. Refresh it. Upgrade in 1 or 2 positions. We're not. We're 17th. So what I'm discussing is almost like the nuclear option when it comes to the transfer window. If 17th isn't where you need to be to push that button, then where is? Because the position lower, you're in a different league. This is as low as we can get while staying in the Premier League. It's a bad season, but what it has done is let us off. We've got off this season. It's let us off the hook big time for having such an unbalanced squad and ill-fitting managers for that squad. What we can't do is go into next season with the same issues. So to fix that issues, it requires big wholesale changes in the summer transfer window. The goalkeeper needs looked at, the defence needs looked at, the midfield needs looked at, the striker needs looked at, and the bit in the middle, those attacking midfielders / wingers, they also need looked at. There's barely a position in that squad that we don't need to look at. Right back, it's Wan-Bissaka's, the shirt is his, but tell you what, we need someone else because Soufal's off. So every position that we're actually strong in, Bowen, brilliant. That's his position out there on the right. But if Kudus goes, who's Somerville, Guilherme? Is it them? Brilliant. If this squad needs major surgery in the summer, and what we're in, the period we're in now is prep for surgery. We're in the period where you can't eat for a couple of days. That's what we're in. Edson Alvarez, thank you. You were decent, but not as good as I hoped you'd be. And I have no issues. I don't wish you ill on your farewell. I just hope that now... Oh, no, I didn't even think about this before I'd done the video. I've just thought, who's negotiating the sale of Edson Alvarez? Fucking hell.